because that's probably going to give you a better result.
I think micro influencers are really important now. I think that's a red flag. Welcome back to Horizon with me, Chloe.
And me, Tom.
Tom,
Hi.
how are you doing today?
Good. You?
Yeah, I think I'm all right today.
What have you been doing?
What, today or in general?
No.
Well, a bit tired actually. Well, you must be tired also because we had a busy day yesterday, didn't we? Out filming for a client.
Yeah, we did. That was quite good fun, actually. I didn't do anything.
No, you literally didn't. Like, if I was thinking, if Dee didn't come along with me to get the content, Tom was just too busy schmoozing.
It's what I do. It's
He
my
is
job.
what he does.
I can't make content. That's not me, is it?
You did get in some of it though.
Yeah, I think they might get deleted.
No. We roped Tom into some content, which you slyly love it.
Cardboard.
You
I'd
do
say.
slyly love it.
I'm like a cardboard cutout in that sort of situation.
Maybe we should get one of them. No,
What,
shouldn't.
of me?
It'd be terrifying.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
No, it'd be terrifying. But
Probably
anyway.
more useful than the actual real version.
Yeah, maybe. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay. Thanks.
Right. So basically, we want to know what is an influencer and what place do they have in marketing?
It's hard to describe, I suppose, isn't it? Like, bad influencers are people that are just doing stuff for money, right? So,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
like, we need to avoid those people. I think now, like, it's definitely changing.
Everyone's getting a bit smart to it.
Yeah, like, you can tell the ones that are just like, a couple of posts about me, product. A couple of posts about me, different product.
Yeah.
And they don't care who the brand is. So you need to find someone that's aligned with the brand. It's almost like an ambassador, really, I would say.
100%, yeah.
Like a network of those people, ideally. You know, they don't have to have tons of followers necessarily, like millions of followers to make it like. I think probably actually the key is finding those people that have got that niche. They talk about that thing. So they're very authentic in the content that they.
And I think that is the key word
create.
there, authenticity. Spit it out. Authenticity.
Oh my god!
Say it.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Well, I'm not saying it.
Don't even try.
I'm not even trying again, but you know what I mean?
Oh my god! Ooh.
But seriously, on a real note, you need to be trustworthy because that reflects on your brand. And like you said, there's been so many people out there that do just sell for money, and you can see straight through it.
Yeah, it's. I think before it was like a real big thing. Like it was kind of made sense.
Before it was like everyone knew it was a job and you could make money from it.
And people hate influencers. Like people are jealous of them.
Oh yeah, well you can see why.
Yeah, so like they'll just get a lot of hate all the time.
But it's not as easy. Well, we know from working in social media, it's not as easy as some people may think.
Yeah, and I think building an audience is a really difficult thing to do, like generally. So like fair play to people that are able to do it.
Oh
like,
yeah.
But I think the better ones are less so, and this is probably a little bit unfair on like celebrities. The better ones are probably the ones that are aligned to a particular subject, or whether that be related to your business or loosely related to your business. You know, the ones that have that, hardcore following of people, like they're going to be the absolute premium.
Because they have a community and they're selling them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They've built their brand.
And I think people feel less sold to in that respect.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to be sold to.
No.
Like if someone comes up to you in the street and starts selling to you, you're automatically turned off.
Yeah. And I think if they can weave that, your product or service or whatever it is into the content and it's beneficial to their audience and they're not just doing it for the money.
Oh, yeah. But at the end of the day, everyone is doing it for money.
They are. But it's the ones that are more... They actually genuinely do like the product. They genuinely do use the product. Like they're doing it because they think that their followers will benefit from having that product. And I think they're the ones that are way more believable and probably work way better than any other.
100%.
So they're the ones you want to kind of look out for, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's not all about following. Like, you could have 1 million followers, but only 1% of them engaged.
Yeah, and it's about collaborating, right? And you might have a product that you can collaborate with another product as well. So it's not just influencers. There's brand collaborations as well, which kind of comes into this whole sphere as well. So you might look at X brand and go, yeah, we're not really marketing to that audience maybe at the moment. Like, how do we sort of cross sell? Like, and on the other side, that brand gets benefit from your audience that, again, they might be looking to build as well. So there's lots of mutual benefit there. They're really good ways to kind of start, I would say, like brand collaborations, because a lot of brands want to do that. So you might have a similar following, but they might have slightly older audience, you might have a slightly younger audience, something like that, but you can both kind of get benefit out of the partnership. So
I think that's a way of slowly introducing your way into it as well, and understanding how you could benefit from that, because influencers are a brand. Like, they sell themselves, their values and that kind of thing. So understanding it in that way is
definitely. And going back to sort of the ambassador sort of thing, like, you don't want to just work with influencers once they post. It's a really short-term thing. They post 3 times over 2 weeks, and then you never speak to them again.
Yeah,
that's not really
ideal.
That's not really going to work that well. So ideally, you want to find people that want to work with you more long-term. They can more casually mention your products over a longer period of time, quite subtly, or you're doing it for a really specific short-term campaign. Like, depends really.
Yeah,
you're launching a new product or something like that. There's loads of different ways of working with them. But I think ideally you want people to work with you for the longer term, because that's probably going to give you a better result.
Absolutely. So I guess it comes down to picking influencers. How would you go about doing that? Again, it just comes down to being trustworthy and authentic, but where do you find them? And
there's loads of different ways of finding people. I think it's understanding, again, some of it's understanding the audience. So sometimes travel company, for example, might want travel influencer. But actually, what about if they're trying to sell family holidays?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do they go for the mum influencer, or the dad influencer, or the people that are creating more family type content, like the Coles? Have you ever seen those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So would they go after someone more like that?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily anything to do with travel, but then does it fit as seamlessly into the content that they're producing, or is it really obvious? Or is it really obvious that they're trying to sell that product? So it's difficult, isn't it? Like, I'd say you need a bit of a mixture. But again, if that audience that they've got is really aligned to them and believes what they say, then it probably does fit in there quite nicely. They're helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the best place to get a family holiday. Blah blah blah. You can see how that might work. For example.
Yeah, it's thinking outside of the box, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not obviously necessarily the most obvious place to go. You think, I'm in travel, so I need someone that does travel, and that's all I'm going to do. You probably need a sort of more of a. You might need 10 influencers, but you might have 5 that more travel. You might have a couple that are more lifestyle, or might fashion or something like that. But just sort of tweaking, broaden your audience a little bit further. It just depends really, and
it's understanding your target consumer, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think that's the absolute key thing, and then aligning that with people that have that audience, whether that be doesn't necessarily matter what they do. I think it's better, the more niche you are, you want probably the more niche influencer or, whatever it is. You probably want to try and go as close to that as you can, the more niche you are. But the more mainstream you are, then maybe those barriers can come down a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But there's an influencer for everything, isn't there, really?
True.
But that's what they say when you want to be an influencer. You've got to find your niche. You've got to stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, I've been watching a guy recently who just digs tunnels.
Digs tunnels?
Yeah.
Where?
In his house. Colin Furze.
What? He's English?
Yeah. He's in Stamford.
No.
Yeah.
That's really random. Do you know, like, when you're on Facebook late at night and there's them men that they dig, like, the moats around their house? I'm getting that kind of vibe from it.
When you're on TV, watching TV late at night.
What?
Nothing.
But no, off topic. But
so what? When they do what? Sorry.
Have you not seen them? There's like these two men and they like dig like little swimming pools. I think they're like abroad and they build like this moat around it and then they fill it in with water. Surely you've seen it. Like everyone's seen it if you've been on Facebook like really late at night.
Everyone's seen it.
Yeah, apart from you. I'll have to find it for you. It's like an iconic video.
Well, like the pool guy. You know the pool guy?
Yeah, I love them videos.
Yeah, when he cleans the pools.
He is an example of using influencers. He went round to Stacey Solomon's house. And I think that's how he's built himself. I'm not 100% sure.
I think he does a lot of footballers and stuff like that, doesn't he?
And then you just trust him.
But I suppose his is word of mouth as well. Like those sorts of people, they only want certain people
100%.
come into their house.
When he changes them pool liners, that is top
when
content.
When he cuts it out.
See, but we've got no interest in that. We don't have pools. Do you? I don't have a pool.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You need to work harder so I can get one. No, but that just proves that's quite a niche.
Yeah. And I'll probably never need that service. No. But I know him.
Yeah.
You know him.
The pool guy.
The pool guy.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Doing a good job.
Who's your favourite influencer?
No, it's hard to say.
Or who's your favourite content creator? That's probably a fairer thing to say.
I just enjoy TikTokers at the moment. So there's this girl, I'm not even too sure of her name. She does like, again, I'm not interested in it. She does like this like ravey content. She's always in Berlin.
Gravy?
Not gravy, rave content.
Oh,
and she like styles these outfits together. But I think it's not the content she posts, it's how she posts it. Right. So they're probably no more, some of them, than 30 seconds. And it's fast. It's the pace of it is like one thing after another. And she's always said like, my target consumer, they're not interested. Do you know what I mean? But I've got to catch them. So she always starts with a hook, and I can't even remember her name, but it's the pace of it. Well, yeah, I know. But she was a solicitor. We'll have to put her name in, or we'll put it in the comments or something.
Find name in comments.
Find name in comments, yeah. But no, she left her job as solicitor, and now I think she's going full-time influencer. And I think she's only got 100k on TikTok. So, who's yours? Bet it's really obscure.
I watch loads of odd stuff.
Yeah, I think we're best just not to go into that, really.
No. I'm getting loads of Spudman content at the moment.
Oh, another icon.
Yeah.
He got big from TikTok.
Yeah. I don't know why. Because, again, but all he's doing is making potatoes with beans and cheese. Like, it's not like... But, like, is he an influencer, though? Or is he just a content creator? Because he's not. Yeah. He doesn't really plug product on there or anything like that.
Just his own.
He's obviously just making money off selling more potatoes and TikTok views. So he's more of a content creator, isn't he? Rather than an influencer, I think, is different to a content creator, isn't it?
I'd say so.
He's a content creator. An influencer is someone trying to influence someone to buy something.
Yeah, but it is a blurred line. It really is.
I think, it depends what it's about.
Yeah. It's hard to even say, isn't it? It is a very, very blurred line, but I think there is a slight difference. I don't think anyone goes out to be an influencer. You just end up there, really.
I think as soon as you get a certain amount of followers, don't you? People want... you get approached by agencies that want you on their books so they can make some money out of you.
100%.
Yeah. They can probably try and sell that to someone as part of a package or something like that. Yeah, you make some content for them and that kind of thing. So yeah, I see a lot of his content. I wouldn't say he's my favourite, but I see a lot of it. Ryan Windridge. I see a lot of his content.
Oh, you've always loved him.
Train guy. He's odd. I don't know why I see this. Like, who else? I can't think now. But yeah, I see a lot.
Bevo. Do you know Bevo?
No.
You don't know Bevo?
Bevo?
Yeah, he's just gone and got his veneers done. But he is probably like, not like one of the biggest on TikTok, but he has grown. Like,
Yeah.
you need to, you're like him. The way he eats dinner, he goes, dinner! And then he eats his roast potato, 2 bites, swallows it whole.
What?
I'm not joking. So you must have seen the trend. People were literally doing like the Bevo eat, like 2 bites, swallow. Probably quite a dangerous trend, really. But no, you need to watch him.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
So no, he has built himself on there. He's even got a massive Bevo necklace. I'm surprised he's not come up on yours.
I'm trying to, I think, change my...
Your algorithm, your For You page, yeah. Absolutely.
Because it's got, like, I did end up watching loads of stupid stuff.
Yeah,
like
you do.
Jokes and...
At lunchtime with it out loud whilst we were trying to chill.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
I'll crack up. Like, some of the things on there just will crack me up. Yeah, but most of it's like sports sort of content.
Yeah.
But then I've been watching a lot of Rory Sutherland recently.
Wouldn't have a clue.
And that's the level of marketing knowledge you have.
Rory. Yeah.
Rory Sutherland. You never heard of him, no?
Never heard. If you showed me his face, I'd probably know.
He's a creative director at Ogilvy, big agency in London. But he does like psychology and marketing. It's quite interesting.
Oh, is that a book you read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alchemy of Marketing, I think.
I do know, guys. I do know.
It's good. He's really interesting. He's got some really interesting theories about stuff.
Yeah.
So he goes on a lot of podcasts. I think they just cut down his content into like short form content.
Yeah.
So I just see a lot of his like theories about that sort of stuff. I find that quite interesting.
Yeah. Would you say he's now an influencer or?
In our industry, I would say so. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I don't know how much he gets involved in campaigns for people anymore.
no.
I think he's building a brand. He's building their brand, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's building. When someone big company wants to find an agency,
Yeah.
are they more likely to go and speak to them if they see him out there talking about all this interesting stuff?
Most likely.
Exactly. Hence why we're here.
This is why we're here.
Maybe we'll become influencers.
I'm not sure. I don't think you'll do much influencing. I don't know if I'll do much influencing.
I influence people every day.
I get influenced by everyone every day. What are you having for dinner today?
Me?
Well, that's what I ask everyone, don't I? And then I get
Every
influenced.
day.
Each time I go shopping then I'm
But you ask people at like 3 o'clock.
Because I'm already thinking about dinner.
I know, but like they're trying to do work and you're telling them... This is basically a one-to-one now.
Yeah, 1-to-1.
Can you stop asking people what they're going to eat for their dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Can you save it till like 5 o'clock?
Politely? No. Let's get back into it.
What are we talking about again?
I think we're talking about influencers, but...
And that's my influence. I've really influenced you there to change your ways, but you've declined.
Absolutely not. But we were just talking about our favourite influence. I think the power of like TikTok and that, I think micro influencers are really important now, because especially to people that don't have the budget for people with millions of followers, it doesn't matter anymore because it just matters how engaged your following is.
Yeah, I would say like micro influencers that have like maybe 2,000 to 5,000 followers, like if you think, they probably know a lot of those people.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever they post is way more believable.
Oh, yeah. You don't feel like you're being sold to then, do you?
No. So that's why it's quite interesting. Whereas someone that's got 1 million followers, they don't know all those people. They're people that have watched them on TV or whatever. So that's why the micro-influencer thing is quite interesting, or should be quite interesting to brands, is because it's their nan or whoever following it. Like, they're going to be more believe more of what they're saying and be more engaged with that content. So
yeah,
you might end up doing better off. And I've definitely seen that happen as well.
Yeah, I think there has been a downfall and with the trust of like big influencers.
100%, yeah.
From just selling random things for a price. But everyone's had to change up now because everyone's getting smart to it. So you're not going to make them brand deals if you're known for that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, if you had, do you have one influencer who's got 1 million followers, or do you have 100 that have got 10,000 or whatever?
Did you just try and do the maths in your head?
That's right.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
What's going to give you a better result? Probably the 100.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
That have got 10,000, I would think.
And that's why user-generated content, that is the next big thing.
I love user-generated content.
So how would you go about getting user-generated content?
It depends what you do. If I was a fashion brand or anything where I was delivering something to someone's house, I would put a little something in the box. Say, use it, tag us in when you unpack it or whatever, to try and encourage people to do that.
But what do they get from it?
Nothing. You could offer them a discount, I suppose. Not for their next
discount
purchase.
Or...
You could do that.
Yeah.
But without having to offer a discount, you could just ask people to do it, see if it works.
Yeah.
If they like the brand, they might just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Or a chance to be featured on their page.
Featured on the page, or be entered in a chance to win, I don't know.
Competition, could be anything, couldn't it? Yeah.
So it is simple. Sometimes you do need an incentive to post it online.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be much, but...
Yeah, maybe. I think as well, if say you had a decent database of people as well, you could appeal to those people to tag you in more content, especially those that if with the likes of Shopify and e-commerce websites and stuff like that, the people that have bought from you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, whatever it is. They're the ones that are more engaged with the brand. They're probably more likely to do that. Siphon those people off and send them an email asking them to almost become those brand ambassadors, give them incentives to sign up their friends and family and discount codes, referrals, and that kind of stuff as much
word
as you can do.
Word of mouth is just...
Yeah, and use that as word of mouth. Word of mouth was something people thought had died, but actually, it's just a different way of doing it.
Oh, 100%.
You can still do word of mouth as online. And that's almost what those micro-influencers are. They're almost sort of word of mouth. They're more talking to their friends rather than from a
sales perspective on it all.
Yeah.
So I guess just going back to influence again, we use platforms like Social Cat to... You don't like Social Cat, do you?
Unless they want to sponsor us, in which case we really like it.
Should we cut that bit?
No, it's just funny. We love Social Cat. I don't mind it. It's it's okay. There's some people on there. I do prefer reaching out from the brand.
I think that's more trustworthy on our part.
Yeah, I like reaching out from the brand account to influencers that we might want to work with.
Yeah.
Or you see them posting sort of related content maybe. This doesn't have to be done always on we're going to spam the living daylights out of everyone to try and get as much content as we can. It could be a much more sort of granular approach. Trying to just build up that portfolio of people that you're kind of working with. So you see someone posting something that you think is relevant or, timely or whatever it is, and you think, oh yeah, that kind of aligns with what we're trying to do. And and you kind of just messaging them, compliment them on the content, saying, do you think it's an opportunity to align? We're doing this. Do you think it would fit in with what, where you're going with your content, that sort of stuff? Because the thing I'd say with content creators more than influencers, a content creator is very precious about the content.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, good content creators, good influencers are not just going to do anything.
No.
They'll turn things away, even if it's a very credible product or service or whatever it is. They will, because it doesn't align with what they're trying to do. And I've noticed that there's the good ones will do that.
Yeah, and that's what you'd expect. You shouldn't expect to bring in every bit of work and expect
I
to take
do.
it. I do.
I do. That's why I go home like crying every night.
But it works both ways, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
So I guess them influencers that you do end up work with, how do you track the success? And
yeah, it's always a difficult one. I think again, depends what you do. You know, it's and it goes back to one of the previous things we spoke about, which was metrics and benchmarks and this sort of stuff. Is like, what are you doing it for? You know, are you doing it to increase brand awareness? Are you doing it to drive direct sales? Are you doing it for other reasons? Like, you know, what's the purpose of it? Ultimately, I guess over the long term, it's always to generate more revenue. So that, you know, but you know, there's ways to track it through affiliates, giving them a code. You know, they get a cut of whatever you sell. That's quite a good way of doing it as well. So you don't win; they get the product or whatever, but they only get paid when sales come through, and you win, they win, kind of thing. And that works quite well. I've seen that be pretty successful. The dangerous ones are the ones that want a big chunk up front.
Really? You think that's a red flag?
You'd have to be pretty convinced that it was going to work.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, I would say. I wouldn't say that's a particularly good investment.
But
it probably does work, but
depending
I'd
on...
be a bit more sceptical personally about that. I think, again, if you set up affiliates and stuff like that, again, they get paid. So let's say they post the first time, they get 10 sales, and they think, we haven't really agreed that we're going to do any more, sort of, per se, but I will do because I've just got X amount of pounds for doing it. So I liked making the content. It aligns, like, you know, and that's maybe how you then get into that more ambassador sort of situation. That's probably the number one way of tracking it. But you know, it might be an increase in followers, it might be an increase in, you know, engagement, visits to your social, visits to your website. You know, various different metrics. Obviously, you can track. But again, you have to have a lot of the other things sort of tied into that. You know, if your website traffic goes up by 20%, you know, have you got the various different pixels on there to capture that information, so then you can remarket them once they've left and make the most of the increase in traffic. So, you know, you've got to have all these things in place really to have a really successful campaign. You can't just be like, oh, we'll give them some product and then see what happens. Because we got more sales, but we were using 100 influencers. How do we know?
How do we know which one it was?
Yeah. So you have to have some metrics there to figure out what's good or not. But I think it's still a marketplace. But my view would be, you know, smaller.
Micro influencers, user generated content is probably the way
make
forward.
It real, make it interesting. We try and use them wherever we can, because we just see that content just works so much better. Yeah,
but we know when it's not always right.
Absolutely. I think that's quite a...
I think that's just...
quite well there.
Yeah, I guess that's just the overview on influencers, really.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's become a bit saturated, but I think there's new avenues.
Yeah, 100%. It's never going to die completely.
No. Because influence has always been there. You know, previously, it was more people influenced by what they saw on TV
or Heat magazine.
Yeah. Whereas now that's just changed to a different platform.
Oh yeah.
Those and by different people. You know, like before social media, there was just celebrities, really.
Yeah, like footballers were celebrities, but I don't find so much that they are. We have the odd couple, but...
Yeah, or you've got, like... you didn't have as much... You know, niche content creators probably only appealed to the people that like that particular thing. Whereas now, they get mass appeal because actually the stuff they're creating about is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So, like... You know, the Spudman, for example, or whatever. Like, you know, would he have got an article in Heat magazine or been on No, probably not.
Absolutely not.
Whereas
but
now...
I now know that he's making his own chili.
He is now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that. He gets slated in his comments. Yeah.
But he's got a business. He's trying to keep his expenses as low as possible.
Yeah.
At least he's been honest about it.
And some days he's selling 5,000 potatoes a day.
I know. So many potatoes. But Spudman, shout out to you.
Yeah. Hi, Spudman.
So
come on, if you want to come on our podcast, you can. We could talk to you.
Yeah, why not? We need another seat. You can, no, do you know what? He can come on with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I'd like that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll round it up there then.
Yeah, good episode, I think.
Yeah.
Useful.
Absolutely.
Informative.
Oh, well, I hope so. You have to let us know in the comments.
Don't slate us too hard.
No, absolutely not. Right, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye now.